So this is my Fender Acoustic. It's a Chinese guitar. It struck my fancy. I was walking through a music store in Olympia, Washington, and it just cried out to me and said, pick me up and play me. So I picked it up and played it. I really liked the tone. Chinese can make some good stuff. I mean, for goodness sakes, they've got a probe on the dark side of the moon right now, and that's pretty amazing. I can't do that. So I suppose every now and then they get a guitar right. They're just not very consistent about it generally. Anyway, I've had this guitar for, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years now, and I play the heck out of it. I play it probably more than any other guitar I've got, just because I like the tone of it, and because I didn't pay a whole lot for it. It's a Chinese Fender. I'm not really super concerned about, you know, something, an asteroid falling and wiping it out. But the problem is, because I play it so much, I've worn the frets down a little bit. I think there's still enough fret there that I can sand them down and get them leveled out. So that's my plan. I'm going to take this apart, share some tools I bought to do this with, and I'm going to go through it and get the neck set up on this. So once I get this done, I got to looking at the other guitars, and I've got probably 3 or 4 different electrics that needs the similar attention. So I might have just opened a whole can of worms. So this is my workbench. I've got the guitar out here on my workbench. It's on a towel to keep it from getting too banged up. It's pretty dirty. I'm going to have to scrub it. You can see that it's got that fancy mother of toilet seat stuff on it. Yeah, let's get down to basics here. This is what we took it apart for, and you can kind of see how chewed up the frets are. You can really see how dug up that is. So we got to get in there and clean up those low spots. The fretboard's kind of chewed up too. I don't know if you can see it kind of in the light there, but these frets being worn down, I think I'm banging my strings down in here. Maybe I'm playing too hard. Maybe I need to go to a thicker string. I don't know. I use light gauge. I like them, but maybe I need to go to something thicker. I guess before we can really get started sanding it, we got to throw the gauge on it and see if it's flat. See how it sits out, and the neck's got some wow to it. You can see down here it looks pretty good, but as we go this way, now there's some run out on the upper part of the fretboard. I understand that, but I think we should still be able to touch at the 12th fret, and we're not. Okay, so now if you look at it, the gauge is saying that we're flat all the way across. We're touching all the way up to the top fret. I ended up having to back the truss rod off. Since we're going to be sanding and filing and doing some pretty gnarly crap, I want to make sure that I protect the fretboard and the body. I don't know if this is important, if I'm going to bash it up or not, but I think if there's a potential for it to happen, I'm just money ahead doing it. I ended up having to use a couple different sizes of tape. I have this 3/8 inch stuff, and that worked pretty good for in here, but I still had to trim it. We're going to mark the frets with a felt marker so we can see how much we've sanded off and see how much we need to take off still, so we'll be able to see the low spots. One of the things I was worried about in doing this was that if I get around the end of the frets, what if I get it on the binding? I think I might have in a couple spots because my tape, it's craptacular. So if I got it on there, hopefully I'll be able to clean it up. So if you're going to do this at home, the same way I'm doing it, you know, it's not rocket science, but there are some things that you can come around to bite you. So that's one thing to think about. I might have got lucky, and I might not have been as sloppy as I thought I was. One of the tools I had to buy for this project was a sanding block. I didn't really have anything like it. I probably could have made one out of wood, but I want to use something that I think is going to work pretty good. This is by a company called Shaolin. It has 3 different grits on it. You have a fine, a medium, and a coarse. It came with pretty good reviews. They said it was durable and it did the job for them. I'm not a professional, and I'm not going to go buy this stuff over at Stuart Mac, so I'm going to try this, and if it works out real good, kudos to them. If it doesn't, then we'll never speak of it again, and it may not even make it into this video. You know, I think it worked pretty good. It Got rid of the black. There's still some black up in here. There's fall off. They make these intentionally shorter so that the neck can never really get to a point where it's dragging on these frets, because there's no way to really adjust for that. So they have fall off on the last few frets, and you can see it where the black is. So I picked up this file on Amazon too. It has 3 different profiles. You can see there's one right here, there's one over here, and there's one over here. It's probably just drop forged steel that they stamped this crap into to make it look like a little bit of a file. However, it's probably harder than the fret wire. I imagine this is a much sturdier piece of steel, so it should be pretty easy to get these curved back over to their profile. Note to self, don't use this blue painter's tape, man. This stuff sticks really good and it leaves some of the gunk behind. I mean, I've got to clean it up anyway. Every time you do major maintenance on a guitar, you should probably tear it down and despoogify it, you know, get all the crud and snot and whatever else is on there off of it. So I can scrub off the adhesive, but some of that adhesive stuck and it's kind of gummy. It looks like I was pretty lucky in the binding. Great googly moogly, there we go. Those frets look fantastic. Should have gotten rid of the buzz. I even shined up the mother of toilet seat they made this guitar out of. I don't know, maybe it's pearl, but I think it's probably some sort of crappy Chinese plastic. The bridge was pretty dried out, so I cleaned it up. You can buy really expensive guitar wax if you want. You've probably seen it online. Dr. Jumpy's famous guitar wax or something. You know what I've been using for these last 40 years, and I've never had any issues with it? Good old Pledge. Used to be the Lemon Pledge. This is just some kind of super slimy extra moisturizer Pledge. I suppose it's worth mentioning that the strings I'm going to put back on here are D'Addario EXPs. They're coated. These are a light gauge. Means it's a 1253 set. It's pretty good. I've played with extra light gauges, but I think I'm beating the guitar up too much, like I said earlier, so I'm going back up to just a light gauge. And these are phosphor bronze, so it'll have a fairly warm tone, but they'll still bark a little bit, because this is kind of a barky guitar. It's got that old style Martin dreadnought shape, you know, almost a square shape. So they should sound pretty good on here. And I'm going to put these crappy Chinese plastic pegs back in. They're fancy looking. But they're not nice. So my Taylor's got nice wood ones in it. But hey man, this is a Chinese guitar. It just deserves the plastic ones, right? So when I adjusted the truss rod earlier to get the neck nice and flat, I backed it all the way off and just let the wood be flat. And it wanted to be flat, and that's really good. Now though, it's the weird heel angle on it. Has a whole lot of action up here, like the rend. It's too damn high. So I'm going to put some tension back on the truss rod and get the action back down to where I can live with it. It'll be the moment of truth. We'll find out if that fret job worked or not. It looks really good. I think we're going to be in good shape. Okay, so I went through the guitar. It looks really good. How does it sound? Sounds like it did when it was new. Man, I'll take that all day long. So for the cost of the tools, I think, which was $60, and that even might include the cost of the strings. The whole project was less than $70, and I think I got as good a job as I would have got if I'd taken it to the local shop. Plus, I can do all the rest of my guitars, so you know, if that's something you're interested in doing, I'd say try it. It wasn't super hard, and I got my favorite Chinese guitar back, so win-win.